Hello, everyone. In today's video, I'll demonstrate the feature in Google Translate. I chose this application because the camera translation is straightforward, lucid, and user-friendly. I will narrate what R is, what VR is, how the feature works, what I like about it, what I do not like about it, and my opinion on its future. First, let me clarify the difference between R and VR, as many confuse them for some reason. Augmented reality overlays digital information onto the real world. You see your real surroundings: a table, a sign, or a street, but app-based software inserts additional digital elements into your view. So it is the real world plus an additional digital layer. Pokémon Go is a very popular example of this. In the game, you move around in the real world, but your phone shows a Pokémon standing in front of you on the ground. The streets and buildings are real, but the Pokémon is digital. R thus integrates well with reality. Virtual reality, on the other hand, is a completely different cup of tea. VR involves an entirely synthetic world that pours over you and replaces anything around you. For this, you usually need a VR headset. Once you strap that on, there is no visibility of your room or real space. What you see is all computer-generated. In the Room VR, a dark matter, for example, you enter a virtual space in which you solve puzzles, explore rooms, and interact with objects that do not exist in real life. The entire environment is artificial, and you are entirely within the virtual world. So the main difference here is that R retains the real world and adds digital elements over it, while VR removes the real world and replaces it with a completely digital environment. Google Translate works in R, not VR, when you point your camera at real text. The application replaces the text with translated words on your screen. This mixes real objects with digital information, which is exactly what R does. Now let me show how this R camera works. Open the Google Translate app. Choose the languages you want to translate, for example, English to Chinese. Tap the camera button. Point your phone at any real text, such as a sign, book, or menu. You will see that the application changes the words in real time. The translated text appears on top of the original, and it follows the shape and position of the object. You do not need to take a photo. It works instantly when you move the camera. There are several things I like about this R feature. It is fast, simple, and clear. One cool thing is that it can still translate very accurately even in dark places. Even when the lighting is not good, the camera can read the text, and the translation still shows up quickly. I also enjoy that the translated words look natural on the screen. They are appropriately sized and positioned, just like the original text. Moreover, since this application is free and supports a variety of languages, it may be very handy for travel and in daily life. There are a few things I dislike as well. Sometimes the layout gets messy and translated words overlap with one another. Long sentences are especially difficult to read. Besides, when texts are on curved surfaces or uneven planes, their translation does not hold well. The words could be shaking, moving, or even placed incorrectly. Another downside is that the R camera does not work when the phone is offline. For the translation to appear, you have to connect to Wi-Fi or data. That can be a problem when you travel without the internet. In my opinion, the app could be improved in a couple of areas. First, the recognition of handwritten and curved text could be better. Secondly, maintain translation stability so that words don't pile up. Most importantly, I would like to see offline R camera translations added soon, at least for the major languages, as this is where most people's needs are when they do not have an internet connection. I think R translation has a bright future. One day, we could use our glasses to see live translations in front of our eyes without using a phone. That would surely help travelers, students, and workers, not to mention emergency staff. In general, Google Translate is a good example of it was well designed. and it is simple yet very functional. Yes, I'd recommend it to other people. It works quite well and is available on both Android and iOS. You could also add a brief reflection on your experience with this R tool. For me, this became most practical when using the R camera in realistic situations like reading product labels or verifying information about signs in a foreign language. It was so much more effective. It relieved a huge burden of stress from actually not knowing what the word was. This will help me learn languages visually with our translation because words appear over actual words. So vocabulary retention is better. It saves a lot of trouble trying to use a dictionary or type something into a translator. This feature made me think about how technology might facilitate communication. Sure, it has some obvious problems in the app, but it has already shown its potential to close the language gap in real life. I can only begin to imagine how such a tool would further develop and be integrated into our lives.